welcome back to the Netherkast. I'm Black Cyborg, joined as always by temporary username Razor's Edge and Shadaloo. How are you guys doing? This is episode 38.
I'm fucktastic.
That's a good tastic to be. There's not a whole lot of Mortal Kombat news going on, as people probably know. It's kind of in limbo as of now, as to be expected, I suppose, and it's not Mortal Kombat time all the time, unfortunately. So, with that in mind...
That's not what Sonya would say.
If we're really getting desperate, I can always go out and pop out and buy those MKX action figures and start reviewing them one by one here.
You do whatever you want.
We're pretty desperate at this point. We're so desperate we're going to Russia for news. That's how desperate we are.
I have a question, actually. The action figures, what characters have they done?
Take a wild guess.
Probably the same 5 they always do.
Well, see, yeah, I was gonna say, but at least
characters.
I've got, like, Nightwolf, Jax, Baraka.
3 characters in the first wave, and I want you to guess who those are. Go. 3 characters.
Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Raiden.
Look at the big brain on Cyborg!
Well,
yes.
Razor was there, too.
No, honestly,
it's not hard.
I heard you loudest. They also did a couple of, battle damagey, freezy, burny ones as variants. But Wave 2 is more interesting, because Wave 2 got Kitana, Kotal Khan, and who was the third? Quan Chi. It was Quan Chi for the third.
Huh.
Which, yeah, that's actually kind of a first in many, many years for Kitana. And probably Quan Chi's very first, I think, actually. So I'm much looking forward to picking those up.
It's actually kind of a shame it took this long for Quan Chi to get a figure, because if I was going to buy one, I'd want one with the blue sleeves.
You take your victories where you can get them.
Yeah.
Anyway, these things look so much nicer than the MK9 figures. Ugh, fucking Jazzwares.
Alright, well, what the hell's the news we have from Russia? No
that's
news?
really it.
That's
okay.
All the
news.
All right.
There's news in Russia.
That's good. All right. Well, we're gonna.
That there's news in Russia.
That's pretty much all we got.
Fat balding dude continuing to chug away at vodka in Zangief stage after 20-something years. Film at 11.
You know what? Good for him. Good for him.
You know, he's hanging in there. Lesser man would be dead of liver poisoning by now.
He's dedicated. I like it.
Let's do top 5, as suggested by Temp. Top 5 favorite things about MKX to kind of counterbalance our negativity from last week to do more positivity this week.
Just to prove we aren't total bastards. You
can tell we're really looking forward to it by the enthusiasm of Cyborg's voice.
You want some entertainment? I got some entertainment for you right here. My barber did a botch job on me this past weekend, so now I'm sporting the Reiko.
Ouch.
I want to see pictures, definite pictures.
I also
no. No. Only if I can get some black makeup and just do the whole face. Then sure.
Actually, that would be pretty awesome.
That would be sick.
The best way to hide a bad haircut, I find, is to walk into a portal mysteriously and then put on Shao Kahn's helmet.
That's what I
While
do.
Strutting stiffly. Alright, that's my Halloween outfit. I'm gonna strut Reiko style. Good shit.
Alright, well,
top 5!
So yeah, top 5. Shadaloo, why don't you start off with your number 5?
Alright, from the bottom. My 5th favorite thing is Quan Chi is finally fucking dead. I could just replay that moment in my head over and over and over again because it was so good. And all the beatings and the humiliation that led up to it. People say it's too much. People say that he went out like a chump. People say that it's out of character for him to appear so weak. And I can agree with that. I also don't care. It needed to happen. It's needed to happen for something like 15 years now. So,
yeah, I really love the death scene, the slow motion decapitation and all that. I didn't like all the parts leading up to it, but the actual death scene is, I agree, something that's been a long time coming.
I got up and smoked a cigarette after that shit was done. I was so happy. It felt like I'd been sexually satisfied.
Alright, well, Razor, your number 5?
I'm gonna go with the fact that the fatalities are, gross and shocking again, like they were back in MK1.
Yeah, there's some good ones in there that are very definitely gross and a little bit disturbing, pushing the envelope again, which is nice.
Yeah, they really, the graphics of this generation just let them... I don't know if this is something, like, if they always wanted to go like this and the technology just wasn't there, but, like, there were years and years where they were just so cartoony or, I don't know, bland, but, like, you've got people, like, sticking a spiky whip down someone's throat and then yanking out their intestines with it.
I've said it before. I have no frame of reference as to what Kenshi's little ribcage puppeteer thingy would even feel like were it performed on a human being. I don't want a frame of reference. That shit looks wrong and it makes me uncomfortable in ways I can't describe. That's how you know you're doing something right.
Yeah, so, I hope they keep it up there.
Alright, Temp?
We're now. I would say the run button is my number 5 cleanly. It really transformed the game. It's such a different meta now, and it really affects the dynamics of the neutral game. In a little bit in a bad way, because I feel like the mid range is not as interesting as it used to be, but everyone is so dangerous because of that run button. This game doesn't really have a true low tier because of the run button, in my opinion. So yeah, when I first played this game, I really wasn't feeling it at first, and I learned how to run, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing in like 10 years. So yeah, the run button.
I agree with that one too. I wish MK9 had a run. Dashing... I always said, like, I know there's a lot of people who find a use for dashing, but I never really felt it was there.
People sort of made their own by the block dash technique.
Yeah.
It was a testament to how badly the gameplay really suffered without it.
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the dash cancels. I'm still a big fan of those, but I see what you mean, though, for sure. What's up, Cyborg?
I was just gonna say, yeah, I do like the run quite a bit. It feels really good. So yeah, I appreciate it. Alright, 5 for me is Jason. Not necessarily how well he was done, because I definitely think he could have been done better. But I appreciate that they put him in. If you flash back to me practically begging for his inclusion, because it would have been a nice little gift, and I got that gift, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. That is all.
That's very magnanimous of you. Very nice.
Yes, you're a good sport.
I am happy that he's included, and that was very cool, because no matter what, if I ever am in the Friday the 13th mood, or in general, I'll always look back at this game as, hey, Jason finally made it into a Mortal Kombat game. That's really cool. So I think that's quite neat. I will hang my hat on that. So that is my personal number 5.
I mean, I know it's completely sincere, but your tone of voice is like someone who just got a sweater for Christmas. Like, that's the way it's...
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's
it's
cool
a positive
sweater,
top 5. It's a positive top 5.
It's a good fucking sweater. No, that's totally legit.
I can use this. Thank you. Awesome.
I was cold yesterday, and now that won't happen again.
This is absolutely not on my top 20 list of things I would have actually ever have asked for, but I can put this to good use. Thank you very much, Mom and Dad.
I'm just saying that it would have been nice if the sweater had, like, an alternate look that I could have chosen. Let's just say alternate attire. We'll just say alternate attire. And it would have been nice.
A slightly different sweater.
It would have been nice if the sweater, I don't know, had more intros and outros.
Come with another sweater.
You know, just a little bit more creativity went into the sweater would be good. I'm just using examples here, but I mean, it's nice that I got the sweater. You know, I
wish the sweater could fight Freddy. Is that?
It's almost like you got 3 sweaters, but only one of them had sleeves. That's how Jason feels to me.
You know what? A sleeveless sweater can take you pretty far. Look at Cloud Strife.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's fair. That is absolutely
But no,
fair.
we're keeping this positive. So thank you once again for putting Jason into the game. I appreciate that.
I think I got 4 sweaters, and one of them's nice to look at, but I kind of keep it in the bottom of my closet. Anyhow, positivity.
All right, Shadowloo, your number 4.
My number 4 is taking some risks with the classic roster, and by that I don't mean in terms of like not having around the people that you usually expect, because when all you've got is Shang Tsung missing from MK1, like, you know, you're pretty much running with your usual deck of cards. Now, I mean, I appreciate the fact that, for once, they weren't the usual cast of characters up and about running. The story wasn't about them. It still revolved around them, but half of them were dead. half of them were changed. Some of them didn't straight up matter all that much. And in general, their appearances, the way we were led to believe that a lot of them would be back or aged, the fact that, well, I mean, they really pulled the wool over our eyes with all those aged looks for like the likes of Liu Kang and whatnot, and I'm so pretty impressed by what they did with them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, obviously, my main was Katana the time I did play, and she was the most interesting I've ever seen her because I was never huge into Katana. She wasn't even my favorite of the 3 female assassins, but this game she grew a lot on me because her design was really well done, best she's looked in the series in my opinion, and her gameplay was quite a lot of fun. So yeah, I dug her quite a bit, and other characters as well. Liu Kang seemed like really cool and a lot of fun. Kano looked probably the best he's looked in the series, and several others go along that same line. So yeah, they did really good with the classic characters, I'd say.
I suppose actually I could maybe broaden that a little bit and say just looks in general, from impressively updated costumes to new stuff to desexualizing the whole MK9 stripper aesthetic, everything. The roster was, in a word, classy looking for the most part, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, the costumes in this game are really good, and I mean, I would agree with you on most of those points. Like, you know, thanks to the variation system, they were able to try new things with characters, like Kitana being an actual ninja the way she fights, with the dashing and the stabbing. Liu Kang's the duelist, which, I mean, it's not his most effective variation, but the light and dark idea was an interesting one. Kenshi possessed Kenshi. I mean, that's sort of the one part I would disagree, is I don't think they took enough chances with the story. Or how the returning characters fit into the story. But other than that, yes.
That's fair.
I guess I agree to the extent that they took a lot of characters that I was tired of, and they made them fresh again. Like Kung Lao. They made Kung Lao so interesting in this game, just in terms of his design. Like, old Kung Lao was really well done, in my opinion. And I mean, people aren't fond of old Liu Kang, but I really like him. I think he's the best, probably the best Liu Kang has ever looked, in my opinion. Jax even. Like, Jax in a vest. I don't know why a denim vest makes him so much cooler, but it does.
This is definitely the best Jax has ever been.
Oh, by far.
I like this gameplay better than 9 because the multi-throw was easy, but other than that, I love his look. I love his Powerbomb X-Ray. The cigar fatality is good.
Alright, Razor, what's your 4?
My number 4 is that the new characters actually fit in with the old ones, and, like, with the MK aesthetic. Like, because you've got, I mean, a lot of the characters introduced in MK4, Deadly Alliance, Deception, I like some of those characters, but Nitara's a vampire. I don't know that MK needed vampires. Like, Darius and Dairu, they don't really match the aesthetic of anybody else. They're just kind of weird and on the outside of the plot too. But like, this game introduced like 8 new characters, and I would say 6 or 7 of them are all very strong. And like, they actually sort of go well with the whole Outworld thing. Like, I like Kotal, I like Devora, I like Ferritor. I think Kung Jin's a pretty good Shaolin character. Takeda's got some weird spots, but I think he's probably the most interesting of the male heroes. And, you know, Cassie's my favorite. I think they did a really good job this time around on all the new stuff they came up with.
I would absolutely agree with that. In fact, the new cast is, to jump ahead, the new cast is my number 1. But I'll elaborate more on that.
Whoa!
It is.
Spoilers! Whoa!
No spoilers. This is bound to happen. We're going to have things that overlap, so I'm going to get that out of the way right now. But you know what? Fine. I'll butt my new cast down a peg and talk a bit more length. I feel surprised by number 1. Keep going.
All right, we will put a pin in that for later.
No. It's rude. Just...
Yep. Destroyed. And why we can't have nice things. This is what happens when you rock the Reiko.
Thanks for tuning in.
It's doing things to you, Shadaloo.
He's an agent of
Changing.
chaos.
It's good to be me. Dem?
Tim, just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
Number 4. I'm going to say the cameos. It's particularly Lee May and Serena. It was really good to see them again, and the reason why is kind of the opposite of what Shadaloo and Razor just said. I don't need to beat the dead horse. You guys know how I feel about the new characters, but it was really good seeing them again. And when I said back in the past that the cameos were just going to piss me off because it was just showing me something I couldn't play, that was before the game came out. Now the game's out, and I'm like, there's something about MK positivity. Anyway, I really like the cameos. I really miss Lee May, and it was just so good to see that at least she matters to some extent. She got screen time over characters I like less. I'll take that, you know?
There's something about the NPCs in this game that, like, is different from, like, oh, I ran into Jax during Deception Conquest mode and I can fight him, but he's not playable. Fuck you, game. Just put him in. Like, I don't mind it in this one. Like, I think they did, because they get screen time that's actually important to something.
And it's just revitalizing, you know? I feel like a lot of this game was more of the fucking same.
Yeah,
and she was not. They were not. Boraicho was not. But what's up?
Well,
Serena
like,
was
the audience, a big portion of the current MK audience didn't like or didn't pay attention to the 3D era, and these characters have now been reintroduced to them in the way that they actually like them now. Like, before MKX, most people would have gone, who the fuck is Serena? Now people think she's, like, the most interesting looking female. And that's...
It's a pitch. It's a really good pitch. I never thought of it like that before the game came out. This is a sales pitch to people who didn't play or like Deadly Alliance and Deception.
Yep.
Alright, my number 4 is the stage visuals. Not necessarily stage count, because, quite frankly, there was very little stages in this game, which was quite disappointing. Well, anyways, the stage visuals were really good, and especially the one... I'm forgetting some of the names because it's been a while since I played, but the one with the tornado going on in the background, the Shaolin... What's that?
Raiden's Sky Temple.
Yeah, Raiden's Sky Temple. I knew it was part of the White Lotus. Like, they're supposed to be their main squeeze, so to speak. That one looks really good. In the background, like the rain going on, the storm, and everything just looks really good. The details in these stages are really, really well done. I really do like that. I like the cove, how the water comes up, and it just looks very unsettling and dark and gloomy. I like the snow forest, and there's a lot of good stages in here. It's just, I wish there was more stages in general.
Yeah. The reason I remember it's called the Sky Temple is it's because it's a remake of that big tower from Deception.
Yeah, even though it looks...
I mean, it looks completely different.
Yeah.
I actually like the way it looks now a lot better.
Right.
Definitely. A marked improvement.
But yeah,
And it's nice to see something else from the 3D era, even if it's not a character, get some love, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the fact that they look so good just makes me wish we had more. Because in the NetherRealm is another really good-looking one, or whatever that's called, the Hell stage. Crossroads. That one looks really cool. It's just, we ended up only getting, 12 or 13, and one of them's a training stage. So it just kind of sucks.
Yeah, but I think it's a cool-looking training stage. Like, it's not just a bland grid. There's all this Special Forces stuff.
If we had
a virtual tree.
I don't actually get sick of fighting in there like I do in Street Fighter 4, you know?
I just wish we had more. I mean, MK9 had, 19 stages, somewhere around there? It had a lot.
Well, MK9 was 3 games combined, and we still didn't get enough stages, I feel like.
Sure.
They left out my favorites.
It may have been 3 games combined, but the development cycle was all the same, so I guess I don't understand why they were able to fit that many stages in that time, but now we got maybe 6 or 7 less.
Positivity.
Yeah.
Happy Smiles campers.
The ones we got look great.
I do want to give shout outs to the Lin Kuei Temple.
Yeah, Lin Kuei Temple is really good too. Like I said, I like most of them. There's only a couple that I'm like, eh. Like the Jinsei Chamber just kind of doesn't do it for me for whatever reason.
I think the Jinsei Chamber looks awesome. It might be my favorite.
Huh. I don't know. Just for some reason, it just, I don't know. I think it's all...
Given
I really like the Jinsei chamber, especially when it's red.
I think the possibly either the Deadwoods when it's red is my favorite one, honestly. That or the Crossroads. I'm a big fan of spectral, spooky areas.
Yeah, that one looks really good. Even the jungle looks good for what it is, and the marketplace looks really good. Like I said, they all look good. It's not I have no complaints or qualms with the fact, like I said, that is my number 4, is the fact that they all look really good. So yeah, I mean, definitely. I just
kind of like a red marketplace, honestly. I think that would be really good for the marketplace.
No.
Yeah?
Maybe a purple sky would look really cool. Like at night.
Yeah. Purple marketplace.
Both.
With like torches
purple,
and stuff.
Sakara.
Positively
The courtyard.
Purpley positive.
All right,
I'm just throwing out ideas. These would be, I'm positive about what they would look like.
All right. So my number 3, huh? I call this one Brutalities. Holy fucking shit, do I love Brutalities, folks!
Brutalities are pretty great.
So many things about them. Just the fairness, the humiliation factor. When you get a brutality off, and it's a good one, you really feel like you've earned it.
It does feel good.
I don't mean just like stuff like holding up at the end of Melina's teleport kick and for the simple head pop off. No, when you go for the really tough ones, and you know you've earned that victory. When you watch their head go bloom or whatever the hell, whichever one you choose to do, it's so rewarding. And so many of them are so spontaneous. They look great. Some of them look downright nasty. They bring back that that classic MK 1-3 like side visual fatality aesthetic. I could just rave about Brutalities for hours because I haven't seen a single one that I haven't really cared for. I love them all.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, we're trying to keep this thing under an hour here, Bucko.
I want to see if you are legitimately able to go on for hours. Because I doubt it.
I saw Tanya create a skeleton that was purple. I began to get nude.
All right, you've gone about 10 seconds so far.
Technique's not working.
I do love me some fucking purple skeletons.
That is honestly, a lot of the skeleton ones are really good, but that's probably the fucking best. Like, that's a really good brutality, and God, they're doing wonders for tournaments. Like, they really are a hit in the tournaments. Like, they're great. They're everything I thought they would be.
Right? When you take a piece of fluff, which a lot of the hardcore competitive players are like, who the hell needs fatalities? It just drags the match on. But no, when you add a bit of visual, razzmatazz like that, and people in the competitive scene are trying to get it off, Ted, you just made my whole day. That's wonderful to hear.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, because there's two kinds of hype with brutalities. There's the no one saw it coming and the crowd cheers, and there's the it's coming and the other player is squirming because they're trying not to get brutalities. It's not even about winning or losing anymore. They just don't want to get brutality'd. And then they get brutality, and people are like, "Fuck yeah!" It's really great. Like it's wonderful for Twitch in general.
I hope it sticks around forever.
Oh yeah,
agreed. I'm a big fan.
This needs to be a permanent feature of the series from now on, like X-Rays became.
This is definitely the biggest thing in terms of finishers since MK1 introduced the fatality. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's revolutionary. It is.
I don't even think there's a comparison. This is the only time I've ever cared about finishers in almost 10 years. Like, this is the only time a finisher felt good. This is the only time a finisher ever felt earned to me. You know?
Damn straight.
So yeah, I love them.
Yeah, alright. Well, my, number 3 is Temp's number 4, actually. The cameos, or more specifically, the return of 3D era characters to the series. Because it's not just the cameos, it's also the fact that Shinnok is the boss, and it's not like, he's not like a Zelda boss where he gets jacked at the end and Ganon replaces him. He's the actual, he gets his due, screen time-wise. He gets to be the bad guy at the start of the game and at the end. And, I want more of that. I want, characters from MK4 and after to fucking matter.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I think we have a chance now. Like, I think the sales pitch I was talking about, I think it worked. I think we're going to see more of that now because the cameos in Shinnok and just the MK4 elements went over so well.
If Serena is in DLC Pack 2, I'll lose my shit right along with you, Razor. I'd be so happy to just see her again for a couple of minutes.
I would never have voted for him, but the fact that Bo Rai Cho is probably in that pack is the most exciting fucking thing to me, because, I mean, holy shit, they're actually gonna try on that guy. They're gonna put some effort in.
I've always said he'd look amazing. He'd play amazing in 2D. He'd be full of so much pressure. It'd be wonderful. I'm looking forward to Bo, definitely.
Yeah.
It's all in the Russians now. Hopefully they do their part, you know? So, we'll see.
It's gonna be like the Death Star. Many Russians died to bring us this information.
Glug glug, Tovarish.
Yeah, well, I'm excited, but I'm not that excited. I know not to get too excited, but I'm a little interested, mildly intrigued. But all right, number 3. Actually, this is a good lead up from Razors. Number 3 is Shinnok. Shinnok, he's not my main anymore. I still really like him though, but he's by far the most interesting. I have trouble even calling it a redesign. Just aesthetically, he's the most interesting character to me. He just looks so cool. Both costumes. It's a good example of capturing the spirit of the character in the design and in the gameplay. And on top of that, you don't have to play him one way or the other. You can zone with him. You can rush down with him. You can mix up with him. So there's a lot of different ways to play him. So anyone who likes Shinnok got the character in his perfect form, and they get to play him in almost any way they want to, so long as they stick within the rules of the engine. Because obviously, in the MKX engine, some styles are just not going to work no matter what variation you're using. But damn, it was probably the only time in the marketing where my jaw really dropped. And I was like, wow, this is MKX. It's coming, and this is great. Shinnok is such a positive element to this game. Very happy with Shinnok.
Man, you talking about Shinnok the way he plays makes me want to turn on the console and start playing right now.
If my stick wasn't dead, I'd be right there with you. If I had a working PS4 stick, I'd be right in there.
They have pills for that.
Performance enhancing for the PlayStation 4.
Yep.
They can serve you for the NetherRealm.
If it lasts for 4 hours or longer, you're welcome.
Or it's not going to work, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Shadowly, this has never happened to me before. While I played MKX on the PS4. This has never happened.
Fine. Just leave me here holding my bone scepter. I'll wait.
Just give me 10 minutes, bro. Alright.
My number 3 is half the new characters I find to be quite unique and solid additions to the series, and maybe a little bit above half. We talked about the new characters a little bit earlier, as Razor was mentioning them. For me, personally, I think Devora, Kodal, Aaron Black, and who am I forgetting? Cassie, I know. Oh, I mean, I know all the kids, but who am I forgetting of the... Oh, Ferritor. Ferritor.
Ferritor is a little bit of...
to me, it's like...
unfulfilled potential.
Right. Unfulfilled potential. I think there's a lot of potential with the character. It's just a shame they just kind of got the shaft in story. But,
you still know dis we. We awesome.
But yeah, I think those are 4 solid characters, and I would have lumped Cassie into there as well. The other 3 I'm not a big fan of. But in general, like I said, speaking specifically positivity, I really think Devora is a solid design, head to toe. Story aside, I think her design, her gameplay, as well as Kodal's design and gameplay, and Aaron Black's design and gameplay, I think there's a lot of greatness there. Like, just comparing them to Darius and Dairu and stuff like that, and whatever your thoughts on Cobra and Kira and people of that era. I know people like some of those people or dislike some of those people, but generally speaking, a lot of them don't have nearly the fan base as a lot of the characters earlier on. And a lot of people thought, maybe their new characters just aren't so great anymore. The wells run dry. They're at 60 plus characters at this point. maybe, they just can't come up with anything original. Well, I feel like at least half these characters say otherwise. I think there is a lot of potential out there. Now, that doesn't mean I want to see a bunch of new characters introduced by any means. We've already gone over that. I like to see a lot of focus on ones that haven't really gotten their chance that are already existing. But I think at least half of these are solid additions, and I would like to see more of them, which is more than I can say with some of the, their additions. I would say half their additions of the 3D era I was not a big fan of. So, yeah, I feel like they did better this time around as a whole. So, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a point in there that I'd like to touch on, because I really agree with. As much as I like these new characters, and they were, I think, necessary to introduce a bunch of new characters, because this is a new generation we're seeing, like the whole 25 years later thing.
Right.
But I think the next game, you don't need to, have another jump in time.
Right.
I hope they don't introduce many new characters in the next one. I would accept, 3-ish, but I think it's, they need to focus on what they've got now, because there's friggin' 70.
At this point, there's a lot of people who are missing from the 3D era, and a little bit beforehand, here and there, who I think could also stand to have their time to shine in the sun. Fujin's just, the top of the list, but there are a lot of people that are, unaccounted for, whatever you want to call the comic canon or not, probably not. You could probably have more people who show up in the next game that died there. People are missing. A lot of people are still missing in action. There's no explanation for a lot of them, and it'd be good to see them back.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of new characters in general, you said 3-ish, Razor. I'd say 4 at the absolute max, but for me, I'd prefer around 2 at the absolute max. But 4 I could see, but yeah, any more than that, I just feel like you're making huge mistakes at that point.
I don't know how much the pattern still applies, but historically, the third game of every generation has the biggest, most robust roster, and something tells me that's going to be the case once again.
Yeah, especially if they stick with the same engine.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like since they've become NetherRealm, that pattern might have been broken, because now that, games are so much more expensive and time-consuming to develop and stuff like that. But I would fucking love it if MK11 had a giant roster.
I would expect about 35.
Well,
that seems like
I
a
think
nice
that's
figure,
reasonable.
Are you talking about after DLC?
In between. I think it's going to be 30 without, and I think it's going to be 40-something with DLC.
Well, at this point in time, it's pretty much unfeasible for a series with as large a roster as MK has to ever have a kind of Tekken Tag or King of Fighters 98, everyone's back, a la Armageddon scenario again, because there's just too many, and more to the point, a lot of them are disposable, and a lot of them we never want to see again. But we could definitely have a good 35-ish roster of a best of, absolutely.
I think after DLC, that's plausible, but the way we're going with this game, we're just gonna make 32. So
look at Injustice and MKX. It seems like they're turning them in with rosters under 30 these days.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't have my hopes held high, and yeah. So, because I mean, I expected more out of this game. Honestly, I expected 4 more at the initial launch than we got. So I expected around MK9, so that way, at the end of the day, after DLC's all said and done, we'd have around 4 more than MK9, but we're ending up just going to make just about the same as MK9 after DLC, so, yeah. So I don't have high expectations of 35 or 40 roster after DLC, but, I mean, that'd be awesome if we did, I agree, but I'm definitely not going to expect that going forward. I think, I don't know, I just don't expect that anymore.
Well, as a good man once said, it's not 0. So I'll hold on to that, and I'll ride that to MK11.
Shadowloo, you're number 2?
Alright, Should I flip around my 1 and 2 since people already know my 1? Why not? Alright, so for argument's sake, number 2 for me will also be the new cast, to continue our theme. Because, frankly, think about this. I haven't felt like I've wanted to see the vast majority of a cast return for future games since Mortal Kombat 4. That was nearly 20 fucking years ago. Think about that. From Aaron Black to most of the second generation of heroes, Ferritor, of course, big fan of. Jesus, I mean, Devora, loved her. I want pretty much everyone to come back at some point, and some characters that didn't have the potential, or I wasn't entirely satisfied with, I just thought that's because they were maybe not used optimally, but I would not mind seeing them again, and I can't stress how amazing that is for me to actually be able to say. Not too much else to say that hasn't been beaten into the ground already. Seems that we're all pretty big fans of the cast. So, there you have it. Not a bland playstyle among them. Wonderful fatalities, great designs, mostly great alternates. So, yeah, that's about that. Hope to see him again sometime soon.
Razor?
My number 2 is the references to the old timeline, specifically the in the mirror match intros. Because I want the fucking old timeline back.
I will agree with you on that. It can't make my it couldn't make my top 5 because it's a comparatively minute thing, but I definitely agree with the sentiment.
Well, I'm also counting all the the retro or the human costumes for the Revenants in that sort of same category. Just
That's
the idea that there's some in this game you have the potential to pretend you're playing like an older game or a crossover because there's so many skins and so much dialogue.
Razor, maybe you'd win more matches if you didn't squint and pretend you were playing MK2 whenever you fought Temp inside.
Nah, I doubt that because I'm still playing against Temp every time.
So every time you parry me, that's just a squinting moment. That's your kind of like squint out, and that's why I keep getting hit by that shit. Now I know. Now I can integrate that. I can do something about it.
But yeah, no, I like the idea that if it's Scorpion versus Scorpion, one of them is the champion of the Elder Gods. If it's Sonya versus Sonya, one of them works for the Outer World Investigation Agency. I want that shit. That was
it's interesting. No one mentioned dialogues. That is, I mean, you're the closest to it, Razor, but well, I don't know. Maybe it's somebody's number 1. I just don't know.
I mean, those are a great addition. I just didn't think of it that way, but because there's such an evolution of what we got in MK9, and the fact that basically Soul Calibur was doing these 15 fucking years ago, and MK is just now catching up.
Yeah.
It's definitely more of a what took you so long moment.
Yeah.
But that said, the dialogue is pretty much impeccable. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
It's very good, yeah. And speaking of which, before I do my number 1, I'm doing number 2, of course, right now. But when I do my number 1, I'm going to set it up with an honorable mention. I don't know if you guys wanted to round circle that as well, but I don't know if you have honorable mentions, you have locked and loaded, but I am going to set that up before I do my number 1, so...
All right, fair enough.
If you haven't thought of one, maybe think of it. All good. My number 2 is The Tea Party. This was by far the peak of story mode. By far one of the best parts of really anything in the series up till since number 1. This was an amazing scene. Yeah. And I had to really think about why I loved it so much. And I think the reason why it's so great is because the personification of Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero was acting the way I suspected he would always act when I played the Deadly Alliance games. This is what I thought his personality was actually like, but there was nothing to communicate that back then. In MK9, Sub-Zero's, his appearance wasn't terribly developed. He was basically there for one thing, and that didn't last very long. This was the Sub-Zero I've always wanted.
Yeah.
And this was the conclusion to the feud that I've been waiting for. So a lot of great things happened in this scene, and it wasn't just that they're not rivals anymore. They've come to an understanding. The truth is on the table. Sector's head is on the table. But how they wrapped it up was very interesting. Like the proof, the actual demonstration of how he convinced Scorpion that Quan Chi was the one responsible. I thought that was clever. I thought that was good writing. And I think this opens up so many great doors for the future. Maybe too many doors. I don't even know how they would proceed with this. And I think the biggest mistake is to not do anything with these two characters now that the rivalry is gone. Have them permanently go their separate ways. That would be the greatest mistake.
People have wanted to see these two on the same side since MK2. Just team them the fuck up and have them, like, both fight. I guess the most obvious arch enemy for the both of them would be Noob Saibot.
And it would be brilliant if they did that. And because they've been almost hinting at it since MK2. They've been hinting at that there is a potential alliance here. And then now they brought it back, and they could not have done it better. Like, I'm not just saying this is good for fighting game standards or MK standards. This was a really good scene, and I don't know, even if they botch it, even if nothing comes of it, and let's say that they go right back to the feud for some bullshit reason in MK11, whatever, I still have this awesome scene. I think it was beautifully done. I want to see more like it.
Yeah,
it really bothers me that a lot of...
The Tea Party's probably my favorite scene in all of Story Mode 2.
Here. It really bothers me that a lot of people seem to say that MK9's story was better because it was longer. I don't mean like MK fans, I mean like the general teaming masses. Like, people are like, oh, okay, MK8X's story mode was so short. The length doesn't matter. The quality of the writing is what matters. And while neither one's absolutely perfect, clearly, MK10 I felt was
better
just
animated.
It really is. That entire Tea Party scene, the way
MKX
the text
has
explained it, it's
camera
wonderful.
angles and fight scenes, and
yeah, it was a definitive, actual Hollywood blockbuster experience, which had some really believable and good moments, like the Tea Party. God damn, I loved story mode. I really did. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I did.
It's not perfect, but it's a giant fucking improvement.
Damn straight.
It's multiple steps in the right direction. Steps in multiple directions.
Leaps and bounds.
Alright,
now we just need some villain screen time, and we'll be just about perfect.
My numero dos is brutalities, and you guys pretty much covered that earlier, but just to touch upon my comments, because I kind of held off on them, knowing that it would be my number 2, is I really like their addition. I like that they're framed from just like a static camera, like old classic fatalities of the 2D era, and I like that they're very simple, and a lot of them are very effective. Even Katana's simple, where she kicks off of the opponent as she's slicing their head off, the one that's her easiest to do, pretty much. It's simple, it's effective, it's stylish. There's a lot of other cool ones, like Shinnok taking off somebody's face, or reptiles, or, as you guys talked about, the Tanya skeleton one. And there's just a lot of cool creativity in them, but they're not overdone, they don't take long, and I like the idea that, like Tem said, you do have to earn them. They're a hype factor, but they're also really stylish looking, and like I said, with 5 or 6 per character, there's a lot of creativity that you can do with them that you might not necessarily think are enough for a fatality, but as a brutality, they fit just perfectly. So yeah, I hope they're a mainstay for the franchise going forward as well. As long as friendships, we need those back. But
yeah, we definitely
would be
that.
nice.
I also miss friendships.
But yeah, that's all I have to say about brutalities.
I do have an anecdote for that. I remember day one, we were all just learning the game, and I was getting my ass handed to me pretty badly by Cyborg. And I wasn't salty at first. Then the brutality started coming, and I was like, this is bullshit. Fuck this game. But
yeah. We've played together maybe, 3-4 times? When you hit me when you hit me with that brutality that one time, it was personal. Right then, my aim was, I'm going to get you one right back, fucko.
It wasn't just that I did a brutality on you. I did the gory hole. And that is not a fatality that feels good. Like, that sticks to you. And I love it. Like, not at the time, but the next day, I was like, man, seeing Cyber doing these fatalities really brings it home and how great these things are. But the day before, I was pissed. But that's the way it should be. That's what makes fighting games fun. You feel better by taking away something from someone else, That's how it works. I love it.
Yeah, I gotta say, when Jungo is, like, just ruining me with Takeda's new jump punches, I don't get that bad. It doesn't bother me that much. I mean, I'm disappointed, but I'm not salty until he fucking busts out the rip the arm off, the throw brutality. And he does it almost every time, and that's the point where I'm all like, I don't want to play Django anymore.
Oh yeah, it's definitely good times. It's such a positive dynamic to the game overall. So it's not my number 2, but it's a good number 2. So do we want to do a circle of honorable mentions then?
All right, I'll kick it off. This is actually my number 1 that I was going to switch up to, but thinking about it and how you guys have already covered it, I have a better option for my number 1, so I'm going to make Shinnok my honorable mention. This was really up there. It was. Only because of the 11th hour have I found something I think is more worthy to be my number 1. Do I make Shinnok my honorable mention? Shinnok in this game was not so much of a character recreation as much of a renaissance. Everything about Shinnok in this game impressed the shit out of me. Like, aims, goals, I guess, being a bit more well-defined, visual elements, look, playstyles, fun factor, they nailed Shinnok. The only thing I disliked was those dumb little skeleton hands for that one variation. That's it. This game actualized the concept of... They do. But I can look past that. I don't even care. I'll pick Necromancer. It's still fun to play. This game actualized the concept of Shinnok. You want to talk about getting a character right the second time around? There it is. Hell yes.
I agree 100% right down to the skeleton hands. I cannot stand those skeleton hands.
There we go.
Alright, I guess my honorable mention would be... I would describe it as evidence that they're listening to criticism. And specifically, what I would point to is the fact that Tanya's design changed before she came out. But there are other examples, like the fact that Sonya has a costume that's supposed to be a remake of her MK9 duds, except no heels and an undershirt, which is what everybody wanted. Ninja Kitana's another good example. The fact that MKX doesn't contain any more shitty retcons of the old timeline like MK9 was full of. The fact that Raiden is, like, he doesn't accidentally ruin anybody's life in this one.
Amazingly.
Yeah, right? I hope that trend continues and we get Fujin for DLC. But I'm just really happy to see that, they're actually listening.
I mean, it was a good sign when Ed Boon got in front of the camera and said, "We're not happy with the way the online's performing. We're not satisfied with it." Now, nothing got done about it because I don't necessarily think it's their fault at this point. I think the way their version of the Unreal Engine is functioning, it's hardwired into the game's core. There's nothing they can do about the netcode. But just saying that, that they hear us, they know we think the netcode's shit. It's better. It gives me hope for the next game,
Yeah.
Maybe they'll take a couple pages out of Street Fighter V, see how their rollback does, and who knows?
That is a loud noise. Who's next?
What noise?
I'm next. I don't know if my honorable mention is going to surprise you guys, but it fucking surprised me. My honorable mention is Sub-Zero's primary costume. Nothing really prepared me for how much I was going to end up loving this costume. I actually really, really like it now. There's something very MK2 about it. And I don't know, if it had a scar and it had more neon lighting around the mask, it would be almost perfect. It would almost be one of my favorite Sub-Zero costumes. It probably would be my favorite Sub-Zero costume.
I think I'd like it. I would not want it to have a scar. What I would want it to have is different voice acting, because when I look at that costume, I think Bi-Han.
It's so MK2 to me, I can't think of anything but Kuai Liang.
I don't really see MK2 in it. I see more, I guess, like MK1 or the MK9 alternate, which is weird, because it does have more in common with the primary, but for whatever reason, something about, like, the face and the fact that it's covered with knives, I don't know, I get more of a evil Sub-Zero vibe from it.
It reminds me of that the unused concept art, the kind of samurai assassin style that they had going on there that got rejected. It reminds me a little bit of that, but in a bit of a more streamlined, not quite so medieval fashion, I'd say. I can't get MK2 from anything that doesn't have, like, a little diamond weaved fabric in it.
He needs
Yeah.
he needs pastel blue shin guards and knee pads for me to think MK2.
More hockey gear, for sure.
Yeah.
But, there's a slenderness to it. I feel like the MK9 Sub-Zero felt very large and buffed out to me. I couldn't really tell you why, but it felt like a broader design, which is more in line with what I think of with MK1. There's a slimness to it, more of a ninja-esque feel to it, and it's really hard to put my finger on why I like this costume so much, but it really is my costume. Sub-Zero Cryomancer is my primary now. He is my main character. And I think what really held me back on his alternate was the beard. It's not that it looks bad, I really liked the mask in the comic. I thought the comic Sub-Zero was just phenomenal, and the beard instead of the mask, there's nothing wrong with the beard in itself. No one wants to play Unbreakable, dude.
I know.
It's better. It's much cooler now that he has the armor cancels. Those are sick. Like, his combos look amazing now. And I do enjoy the variation. It's one of the more fun variations in the game. But I'm Cryomancer all the way, dude. I got a tattoo and everything, so it's not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can see why you like
Where's
it.
the tattoo?
Say it's
You know where the tattoo is.
It's a tramp stamp, isn't it?
You know it.
Filthy McNasty.
It's got the Lin Kuei statue and everything.
He still looks bulky to me. Like, I still feel like when I look at that costume, it's Final Fantasy Marty McFly.
What? You got to say more. I don't know.
His vest looks like a life preserver, like Marty McFly, and he's covered in belts everywhere. It's Final Fantasy plus Marty McFly.
I even like the belts now. I think the belts are sick. But you're right. It does look like a vest with the way it kind of zips up. It does even have a bit of an S&M vibe, but overall, it just especially in the dialogue.
Nomura watched Back to the Future, and that's Sub-Zero.
Didn't have a problem with it till now. God damn it.
I like it better. I think I like it a lot still.
Alright,
Cyborg, what do you got?
Honorable mention for me would be Team Combat, but unfortunately nobody plays it, and it would be nice to basically make it so you can create your own teams, like, as in, for one, you can't go into a ranked match with a team that you, like, pre-make or something like that, if I remember that right. Like, it's only...
know what? That would be an amazing idea for the next game if you could, like, make your own faction, like an MMO guild, and they had, like, logo options and stuff, so if you wanted to make the Lin Kuei or the Shirai Ryu or something that already exists, you could, but you could also make something brand new, too.
Yeah, that would definitely be cool.
But I mean, hopefully be a lesson for them for next time. If you want people to play your modes, you've clearly got to put some sort of trophy or reward in there to make it worth their while.
Well, I mean, my problem with it is there's two things. Like I said, when you go into ranked, for whatever reason, you can't party up with your friends and go into it. You gotta, like, all search at the same time and hope you get into a game together, which is just absolutely just awful coding. But other than that, so that, to me, I feel like that mode has so much potential, because not everyone wants to just face each other over and over and over and over. Like, why not? I like the idea of a team combat because, hey, we're a group, let's face another group and see who's better between all of us. Let's do round robin. But not only can you not go into rank together, and not only is it hard as hell to find people to go up against, but when you do your own custom ones, you either have to do 3-on-3 or 5-on-5. You can't do 2-on-2. So that's, to me, is just like, why can't you just make it so you can do 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5? Why 3-on-3 or 5-on-5? Just make it, give people options, because it's just, I don't know.
I would love it if fighting games in general had more co-op features, because you don't always just want to, like, beat up a dude. Sometimes you want to be on the same side as one of your friends, and, like, that's one of the main reasons I miss Tag from MK9, is because, you could have a 4-player match, 2 guys on the same side.
Right, even though you couldn't do it online, like, with other people, unfortunately.
Next time it comes back, you can do it online.
Right, but yeah, so...
Passing the controller back and forth in Marvel vs. Capcom.
That's why it's only an honorable mention, because honestly it's a bunch of potential not lived up to, but I like the concept, and I like that it's at least included, but unfortunately it was not well executed, so hopefully they don't just outright abandon it like they did Tag Team, and they keep it going, and eventually we'll do, like, stuff we want to see in the next game type of thing. We'll do a wish list of sorts early enough on that they can actually maybe listen to it. Not that they're going to listen to it, but if they do, that they can actually have time to fix it, but or like include these things. But yes, that'd be my honorable mention. So, Shadowloo, what is your number one?
My number one, after a bit of deliberation, is Hanzo Hasashi. People have been saying for so long that Scorpion has been this boring, bland, one-note, one-dimensional, revenge-obsessed specter, and they're not wrong. And I began to see a bit of a change in the way that they were looking at the character in MK9 with his hesitance to go through with Bihan's murder, and that made me really happy. And to actually see them expand on that, and to prove that Scorpion doesn't need to be a dead, angry, vengeance-obsessed guy in order to be Scorpion, makes me very, very happy, because I've always loved that character. I don't blame Ed for Scorpion being his favorite character, because I've always liked him. And it bothers me to see such a backlash against the character, to have people consider him the boring, quote-unquote, boring Ryu of the storyline, or the game series in general, to have him be such an expected, predictable element, that to actually see that not only did they bring him back to life, that they were capable of using that tea party scene to have him sit down and have a quiet conversation with his hated enemy and put the past behind him. And yes, he still is his usual dickish self. I mean, he is Hanzo Hasashi, you know. Couldn't really stop him from chopping off Quan Chi's head, but again, I'm not going to complain about that because he chopped off Quan Chi's fucking head. The character, more or less, evolved a little bit. And that's what I like to see. I don't see anyone like screaming for Toasty to come back. I don't see people complain that he's not saying vengeance will be mine again. No, like when I play this game and I play Scorpion, odds are I'm like picking the Hanzo Hasashi skin, because to me now Scorpion is more interesting than he's been in a very, 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 very long time. He's got his clan up and running again. Let's see where it goes with it. And yes to the future. Bring back Scorpion. Let's see what's cooking.
That would be a great fight call if he starts the match with "Vengeance was mine, but now I'm content." So that would be a good way to run with it. But you're absolutely right. I think one thing that held Scorpion back as a character forever is that he is so popular, and because he's so popular, he never changes. That's why it took this many years for him to finally take the next step. And I mean, we see this in other games too. I think Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation said it best. Hideo Kojima wanted people to like Raiden so bad, he turned him into a cybernetic breakdancing ninja. And that's sort of the reverse problem with Scorpion. People do like Scorpion, so that's exactly what we got. Until 2015, he finally sort of evolved, which they barely tried in Deception, but it immediately got abandoned, so...
To be fair, the thing people always forget is that Scorpion had a completely different motivation in MK2 and 3 than he usually does. It's just that he regressed in MK4 and went right back to the old...
I think the cause of that regression is because people want an angry, vengeful Scorpion. I think that's why he regressed, and that's the problem. And I think Ed finally kind of said, well, whatever, he's going to evolve whether people like it or not. And I like that.
I'm just saying, it's happened before, so the possibility for a regression is still there, disappointingly, but...
Oh, that's true.
That doesn't happen.
Stick with it this time.
And if that happens, we'll be here.
I loved him in MK2 and I loved him in MK3, but at the point where he started going back on his vengeance trip is the point where I started rolling my eyes. And I'm glad that we've moved past that hurdle.
All right.
All right, well, my number one then is Beard Zero.
I did not see that coming.
Not just the costume, although I am overjoyed that my favorite character's favorite costume is not only back, but it's the best it's ever been designed. My number one really in general is the fact that Sub-Zero has been fucking repaired from all the fucking damage they did to him in MK9. They could have just, made him not a robot, but they went all the way to having him become the Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei again, like Deadly Alliance, which was when he was at his best. So, it feels like a big, giant apology. We know we fucked up in MK9, here's the good version of the character that you wanted. And, I'm really, really happy for that.
So am I. This has not, however, stopped me from envisioning a portal opening, Cyber Sub-Zero walking stiffly down a hallway to a throne, sitting down, turning around, and having Freddy Krueger's hat slowly drop onto his head.
Doing Sub-Zero right is a very important part of Mortal Kombat. He is the cornerstone, in my opinion. You have to do Sub right. Nothing else really works if Sub-Zero's fucked up in the background. And which is why MK9 really suffered in many aspects. You have to do Sub-Zero right. In many ways, he is Mortal Kombat to me. He's not even my favorite character. I'd probably say he's number 3. He's really high up there. I hold him in very high regard, but he is the essence of MK. Even though Li Mei's my second favorite character, she's by no means the essence of MK. Sub-Zero's important, and he has to be done right, but he has to carry what kind of made him awesome in the first place. And if you fuck that up, it kind of contaminates the rest of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So no, absolutely, you're right. I mean, Sub-Zero, they did him very well, and on multiple levels, his gameplay is so much better now. I mean, no matter what he is in tier, he's well-rounded. He's not canned in one style anymore. You don't have to hide behind the clone and get zoned out. That's a really big part of why people did not play Sub-Zero. He had too many bad matchups, no matter how well he did in others. So
yeah,
that's important. Sub-Zero needs to be good.
Gameplay is the best it's ever been, too, I think.
Absolutely.
Easily.
Although I did really like Dragon Style and Deadly Alliance and Deception.
Yeah, well, I like him Deception in general. Like, I love the shoulder charge thing he had, where he kind of got on one knee and zoomed forward. I don't really know what that's
it was like a slide, but standing up.
That was really sick. I really liked that move. I don't remember I think everything was negative on block and Deception. Everything was punishable. But, yeah, I kind of would like to see that back, to be honest with you. Number 1. My number 1 is, I think everyone saw this coming. My number 1 is Variations. To really illustrate why Variations are such a big deal to me, and I need to reiterate for the billionth time, it's not about counterpicks. It's not about fixing your bad matchups. No, nothing is going to do that. There will always be counterpicks to Variations, no matter which one you pick. What makes it good is that you can pick your favorite character without being cornered into a style. And to really illustrate this, I think we need to take a step back and look at Street Fighter. Let's say you want to play Ibuki, but you don't want to do mix-ups. Ibuki without her vortex, I can't say for sure how viable she is, but you have to do that vortex. I mean, I don't think anyone has basically coined a style of Ibuki that works without that vortex. You know, our fundamentals, I mean, they're all good, but they're all kind of flawed at the same time. But if you want to play Zangief, but you don't feel comfortable playing in that close proximity to the opponent all the time, or trying to control geography all the time, you know, a good Geef player will probably take hits just to gain part of the stage, get you closer to the corner. You know, they'll take your pokes, they'll take your sweeps, but they want to back you forward. If you're not comfortable with that, well, I guess you're not playing Geef then. You know, you're bad. That's a problem. I don't think people should have to make that decision. You know, Variations aren't perfect. They're not gonna... If you want to zone and you want to play, say, Sub-Zero, you're probably out of luck. But this is the closest you're going to get to it. At least, even if you're not able to zone, at the very least, you won't have to set traps. You won't have to rely on 50-50s. There are other ways to play Sub-Zero if defense is your natural strength. That's important. I think that's super important, because I think fighting games, the essence of fighting games is taking your aesthetic, your preferred aesthetic, and using it competitively. It's the marriage between art and gameplay. That's very important to me. That's why I play video games. I love this character. Now I want to associate myself to the character in a positive way. I can only do that by winning tournaments. I can only do that by beating better players. I think that's what makes art great. And what video games do is they make me connect to the art in a way I can never do in a museum or in a gallery. I can actually kind of immerse myself into it. You know, that's why Variations are important. You have to be able to play the character you like. And that'll never be truly versatile. There's always going to be some restrictions. You're always going to have to adapt your style a little bit, but I don't think anyone's done better than MKX has. You have 3 styles to pick from. That's 3 chances to find a way you like to play the character. And playing the character you like is what fighting games is all fucking about. You have to be able to do that, or why even pay the price? Why even pay $59.99? Yep.
Damn, son.
I feel strongly.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
All of it.
My personal desire is to have all the special moves, but people who do enjoy variations, I can absolutely see why.
Yeah, I mean, if you had all the special moves, it would solve the same problem. You would be able to play the character any way you want to within the 3 variations, but the game would be stupid unbalanced. So that's why. It's not that it doesn't solve the problem, but that would be hard.
Yeah. Balance is a tricky thing. And I think, like, if I could sum up the gameplay of this game compared to MK9, I think I liked 9 better, but X is way more balanced, which is important to a lot of people.
The low tier are very strong in this game, in my opinion.
All right, my number 1 is just how well, and when I say how well, I mean just how damn well they did Cyrax in this game. Like his fatalities down, like both. No, not just one of his attires, but both attires and all variations are expertly. Just kidding.
This is depressing stuff.
I tried so hard.
His role, how much screen time he got.
His role in story mode. I mean, oh my! It's breathtaking.
Cyrax really stole the show at MKX. Yeah.
No, but for real, my real answer is the gameplay, and I don't even know what to say. I can't really say anything more than we've already said over and over before and after the game came out. The gameplay is just absolutely phenomenal. I like everything we've mentioned up to this point. I feel like plays a little bit of role in that, where like the run button, the brutalities, the fatalities, the variations, etc. We've kind of brushed upon and touched upon all of these little aspects as we've gone on, but just in general, overall, the gameplay, I think, is the most solid part about this game, and it's a very fun game to play. It's very solid from top to bottom. A lot, as Temp was mentioning, even like the bottom tier characters are very strong, and you can just tell when you're trying the different characters, there's I don't feel like, out of the characters I tried, even Kenshi, who I was really looking forward to, I don't feel like his gameplay is bad. Maybe it's not competitively viable as much as some would have liked, especially Kenshi fans, but at the end of the day, you can't say it's not interesting, that it doesn't look cool, or that it's not fun to use. At the end of the day, all of them, in their own way, they're very unique, they're very fun to use, and to me, that's all that matters, is that the game is fun. The game is enjoyable to play. It can be competitive, it can be casual, there's just a lot going for the gameplay, and at the end of the day, that is all that matters. So, I mean, if I was going to say one positive thing about this game, I do think the gameplay is very, very solid. So, that's my number 1, that's all I have to say. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, everyone's dangerous. Everyone's very dangerous in this game, and I think just, it's fun at a base level, but the more you learn, once you start doing cool shit, I feel like cool shit is rewarding in MKX more so than it was in MK9. Doing cool shit in MKX with the run cancels and just, it's sick. Granted, nothing will ever be cooler than jabbing someone out of the air and jabbing them 4 more times. That is still the most satisfying thing I've ever done in a fighting game.
8 more times.
That's an MK staple. That goes back to 2.
Yeah, it does indeed. Yeah, the juggles are a big part of it. That is MK's contribution to fighting games, is we invented the juggle.
Juggling is nice and all. I just think it's silly when it's the same punch.
It's silly and amazing.
All right. And on that note, that'll do it. And I want to thank everyone that keeps listening to us and join the closed Facebook group for discussion. There's some good discussions going on there. And everyone that contributes and interacts and all that stuff. So thank you guys for doing that. That's very cool. And yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say. So thank you, everyone. And this was an episode, so I'm out. Adios. See you next couple weeks or whatever.
Stay tuned. Good things coming.
Take care, guys.